Anne Frank was a young Jewish girl who was born in Germany. After Hitler came to power, her family took her to Amsterdam. When the Netherlands was invaded by Germany, she and her family hid in the attic of her house. She lived in the attic for 2 years before being discovered and taken to a concentration camp. She wrote a diary which was discovered by her father after her death. It was published and it brought joy to everyone who read it. The Anne Frank house, where she lived in Amsterdam, is now one of the most popular tourist attractions in that city. You have to book for months ahead to get in. She's a person who's been highly regarded. When she was put into the concentration camp, she was 15. All of the kids taken to the camp who were under 15 were immediately executed. She was put in a work section. She was stripped naked, had her hair shaved, and was given a tattooed identification number. She only lived a short time after that, eventually dying of typhus. So, what do religious people think happened to her after she died? The Vatican spokesman, Reverend Thomas Rosica, on the 28th of May 2015, stated that people who know of the Church and die outside it cannot be saved. Thus, according to Catholic doctrine, Anne Frank would be condemned to hell forever. Matthew 25:46 indicates that hell is an eternal punishment. The evangelical tradition indicates that a belief in God is required for salvation. Anne was Jewish, and she also would have been condemned to an eternity of torment in hell under the evangelical tradition. Now, let's think about this for a while. The idea of hell has been around for so long we just accept it. But think, it means that someone is punished by pain for day after day after day for eternity. What would happen to Hitler, the person who was responsible for Anne's fate? Hitler, as we know, invaded Poland and killed 3 million civilians. Half were Jews and half were Poles. He killed Poles so he could create a slave race. His regime targeted the leaders of Polish society. When he invaded Russia, he set about killing the Jews. He also starved to death over 2 million prisoners of war. His plan when he conquered Russia was the Hunger Plan. What he wanted to do was to starve the majority of the Russian population to death. Some 35 million would be left alive to work as slaves on German-owned estates. So what happens to Hitler after he dies? Generally, he would face an eternity hell as well. If he suddenly made a sincere acceptance of God before death, he might avoid hell under the evangelical doctrine, but in reality that wouldn't have happened. So what we have is that Anne Frank, who did nothing wrong in her life but brought joy to millions and still does today, ends up as the same fate as Adolf Hitler. Does this make any sense at all?